Our intuition doesn't usually have those kind of feeling tentacles. It's more of a deep knowing. But if I do my healing work from the inside out, I will align with the power that will guide, guard, and protect me always. I will only engage people where I am safe. This is a big ask, though.
Hi everyone, I'm Eamon, and today's guest is Michelle Wadleigh. I'm so excited to have Michelle here. The Reverend Dr. Michelle Wadleigh is a spiritual fire starter. She is a master teacher of metaphysics and the founder of the Planned Happiness Institute, plannedhappinessinstitute.com. With over 2 decades of experience as an ordained minister in the Centers for Spiritual Living, she has been lighting up stages, classrooms, and hearts with her blend of fierce love, radical truth-telling, and deep spiritual wisdom. She has written over 6 books over the years, with her latest book being Shadow Work, A Spiritual Path for Healing and Integration, published in 2025, available in stores and online. So if you want to hear Michelle's talk or the other talks, you can join our membership at the newthoughtmens.community. Welcome, Michelle. So glad you could join us for this year's summit.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you. What an honor to be here in your men's ministry. I'm really happy. Thank you.
It's exciting. Last year was our first year, and so this year we're kind of going a little deeper, and this year I wanted to include some women's voices in it. So I appreciate you saying yes to this, and especially given the wisdom that you bring in shadow work, which I love and has been a part of my men's work path for a very long time. I really appreciate having your voice here and you being willing to be a part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's part of my legacy.
Yeah. If you missed it, go back and check out Michelle's 20-minute sharing. Michelle, you said in there a story. You told a story of a group of women. And 11 out of the 14 had been raped or had physical abuse of some kind. And your question is, after you went home, is how do I not hate men after that? Yeah. I think it would be a natural inclination to just go there, right? But can you walk us through just a little bit of that and the work that you did to find empowerment within yourself? Because I know that has also happened to you. Yeah. And what women who have struggled with this, how they can find love again, or at least like again for men, in general. So let's start us out with a small question.
Oh my God. Well, it's funny. I want to admit, it wasn't like I came home, made that decision, and it was the switch. I had to process. And part of I've said during the talk, and I'll say it again a number of times, because I have 3 sons. And so I often say that I've raised 3 non-white, non-homophobic, non-racist, 3 white, non-homophobic, non-racist sons. And I think, okay, if I've done nothing else, I've at least contributed in a positive way to humankind, because there's a lot of hate out there. So I'm proud of the fact that I have raised men, because they're all men now, that I've raised men that, have, at least I don't see it. I don't see a sense of misogyny. I don't see any racism. Matter of fact, my youngest son is half, he's half Puerto Rican. So he's got a lot of sensitivity to these subjects. And we've been a lot of conversations over the years. The reason why I tell you that is because that's my skin in the game.
Yeah.
I have one of my sons that voted very differently from me. I won't say what way, but I'm not going to choose not to love him, right? So what this work has been for me, what shadow work has been, and what all of the spiritual, metaphysical work has been for me, and the truth is, I don't think I made this point strong enough in the talk. I refuse to allow anyone outside of me to own me, to move me, to cause me to be in a way that I don't choose to be. Not unlike what Don Miguel Ruiz says in the Four Agreements about not taking anything personally, right? Because if I can compliment you and make you feel better and go, oh, I can also take away from you. So my whole journey to find this steady, sturdy place where I'm grounded in truth and principle, where I am empowered enough to be able to recognize that, you're not in charge of my emotions. And so the work has been about responsibility. And that's critical. It's responsibility. I must take ownership. Now, I do it a little differently because I take ownership for my life. But even if I just take ownership for how I respond, if I take ownership with how I react, even that is powerful. And you asked me, I'm trying to grab the second part of that question, was how do women return to being, the way you said it was in like or in love, but I'm going to say at peace with.
Better, yeah.
Okay? Because I can't govern the rest, but
yeah,
it comes from, Eamon, I'm going to say something that's going to be radical.
Go for it.
You can't harm the parts of me that matter. The part of me that I could almost get emotional about that. The part of me that makes me me, the part of me that's one with all that is, you can't harm that. Now, that doesn't help someone who's being abused. And God knows I don't want anybody sticking around for it. I don't want anybody being a doormat for anybody ever.
Yeah.
But I learned that a long time ago in my spiritual community, because we were in a community of people where I learned that even my body, that I could be safe wherever I go. Could you physically harm me? Probably. And most of the population of women walk around realizing there's not very many women I know that are stronger than the men around them. So there's some part of our mind that always knows that.
Yeah.
That's always, and they might not always admit to it, but I'm telling you, there's a little piece of our awareness that knows I'm not really in charge here. I could be at the mercy of, right? And so then how do I walk around empowered if I also know that, because that's just a fact. That's not the truth of my being. But that's where then I comes into developing consciousness, because I live in a conscious, I live in a conscious world, and my life and how I am consciously and how I engage you is what makes my reality. And so when I move into the shadow work and my forgiveness work, and I find my wholeness, I'm going to, my circle, the circle of people around me will reflect that back to me. So what women have to do to be at peace is to get whole. Because even then, when I've heard people say, oh, well, my intuition said I shouldn't be near so-and-so. Well, that doesn't sound like intuition to me. That sounds like fear talking. because our intuition doesn't usually have those kind of feeling tentacles. It's more of a deep knowing. But if I do my healing work from the inside out, I will align with the power that will guide, guard, and protect me always. I will only engage people where I am safe. This is a big ask, though. This isn't a simple ask. This is a deep, long journey. And the beginning of that might be just to develop good intuition or good instincts to stay safe. But over time, the instincts can leave because consciousness has come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I appreciate you saying this and talking about this. And I think the statistic is 1 to every 4, or I've heard different ones, one to every 2 women have been abused in some way. Mm-hmm. And so it's good for us as men to be aware of this. The women that I've been with they have been very supportive about expressing their awareness, especially even situational awareness. When I come up to my car, I look behind the rear wheels to make sure somebody didn't stick something there that would flatten a tire and get me stuck here. Things like that. And so I think for me, I really appreciate hearing those stories, even though sometimes it's like, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah. Before you go somewhere with it, I just want to give you one more piece of this too, because the truth is, but I want to say clearly, it's not just men, it's not just women. Okay, the statistics are not as much with men, but men hide it more. The tendency is to hide it more. The shame factor is high with men. Okay, but here's the fact that we have to pay attention to, because when we can have these conversations, then we can realize how to connect. Otherwise, we don't even realize that we're trying to connect to someone who's hiding or who's not available because they're shrouding themselves in a shroud of protection, and then I can't meet you, just human to human, spirit to spirit.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's like an important part of it. I don't want to be in the world where I'm meeting wound to wound.
Right. We're wanting to meet on that higher level. Yeah, absolutely. Heart to heart, soul to soul.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because it's just good for us as men to be aware. There is a different situational awareness as men. Sure, we're not, I think for myself, I can only speak for myself. Obviously, any of us can really only speak for ourselves. But there is a situational awareness of like, okay, who's around and I think those are common sense safety things. If, you're in whatever situation or that you're not familiar with or whatever. And so I think we all have that, but I wasn't aware of that to the degree that the women in my life shared. And I'm like, duh, that totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so to have empathy for that, to be able to walk them to their car, to be able to, support that feeling of safety, as one of my mentors, Jeffrey Duvall, used to say, if the women aren't safe, then none of us are safe. If the kids aren't safe, none of us are safe. So,
when a woman wants to enter a new relationship, if she has that in her history, it's very likely you won't even know if you're tripping that.
Yeah.
And I mean, if she's healed, if she's done her work, you won't necessarily notice it. You'll find out about it after a while.
Yeah.
But if she hasn't healed, there could be reactions and sense of rejection or things that you're trying to translate in your mind. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
When she's trying to say, am I safe with you? How sad.
Yeah.
Like how incredibly sad is that?
Yeah.
And to the conscious men that I do know and that I do trust, it's, I feel bad because then, a lot gets thrown on you. It gets thrown on those who have never even considered harming someone.
Yeah.
And a lot of shadow gets created for women, and a lot of shadow even gets created for men, because if they don't have the emotional wisdom, they won't know what they're reacting to, and they might take on judgment, and they might take on criticisms, and they might take on this whole other part of themselves. What I mean is, I don't mean a whole other, but they might bury a part of themselves because they don't know what's going on.
What's really happening internally. Yeah. And I think I loved what you said in your talk earlier. Trauma happens within us, and then we identify as that. And I think that's the great thing about women's work and about men's work that I love, is that is the place the place that creates safety. Safety is our number one thing for men's groups and for women's groups. Is if you don't have that safety, you can't be vulnerable, you can't be authentic. And if you can't be vulnerable and authentic, you certainly aren't going to get to the deeper truth within yourself. Yeah. We're so busy. I think the reflective nature of consciousness is so much that if we look at it within ourselves, then we see it. But if we're not willing to look at it within ourselves, then we're seeing it everywhere outside of ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's showing up because that's the nature of consciousness. Consciousness wants us to be aware of how we're seeing the world. And so therefore it becomes that mirror. When we project everything out into it, it's that mirror. That's the mirror that we get to see. Whereas if we're doing our inner work, which is, I think, the thing to do, and what men's work and women's work really is around, is doing that deep inner healing work. And ultimately, I see a place where men and women can come together and do that healing work, which is beautiful. I've been in circles like that, and it is so powerful to have something that's been healed, a pain with, for me, my mom, maybe some women in my life, to be able to have women in my presence in a sacred space, and to have that blessing from them that I never got from my mom, or that I never got in relationships, can be so powerful. And I know vice versa for women to get acknowledgement. I see you, but we can't just jump into that space. We can't just, everybody get together and let's, we have to create that safety.
You have to know how to create that sense of safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you build trust over time. And then eventually I see men's groups, women's groups being able to do this work together. But like I said, caveat, but going back to the reflective nature of consciousness, the reflective nature. And I loved, you were talking about this, it's either within us. I think this is what you said. And I'm dyslexic, so you will never get a direct quote from me, just a disclaimer. It's either within us or it's projected outside of ourselves. And if we take responsibility for our existence, our wholeness, our oneness, if we take responsibility for that reflection, then we're able to not project into the world as much, and we're able to see it within ourselves. And thusly, because of this new thought philosophy, change your thinking, change your life, we can actually change our thoughts around that. Yeah. Do I
and
really?
But it's not. I just want to tweak, if I can.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Tiny bit. So what I'm looking to do is, I'm not looking to try to project something, but when I'm aware, and this is where it can sound very, woo-woo metaphysical, but there's such truth to it. When I'm aware that the power that created you and the power that created me has never turned its back on me. And and that, and I live in that place of wholeness, then there's the automatic projection. I mean, Neville and the guy who wrote Physics of God, I can't remember, and the holographic blah 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 and all this stuff, right? So I am projecting from my consciousness, but my consciousness moves through my beingness, and if my beingness is traumatized, it's going to be filtered through that.
Yeah.
So the purpose of forgiveness and shadow is so when the spirit that creates is creating through me, I've cleared the vessel of my being. So the delivery, so as a delivery system, an expression in consciousness, it's going to be delivered through a whole and healed aspect of myself. Through I become a vessel that's clear. I get it's another quick, really, this is a simple story, but it's just another story about taking responsibility. I'm all about taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And so
The place of power.
Absolutely. So I was married once, right? Divorced. And then I started a relationship with my now husband. And before we got married, he lived in California. That's right. You know him.
I know
and
you.
He lived in California. And so it was this whole, in front of my congregation, it was a big joke because I was flying west. I said, go to get me a husband, funny time. I moved out of a 3-bedroom kind of a good sized house that I had owned for 30 years, and I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment because my life was moving and changing, and so the 2-bedroom apartment, my son was there who was going to college, and my husband was my husband to be was coming in. This place was small. It was small compared to the home that I had owned. And suddenly, after making all these arrangements, my man was there. My man, for those of you who don't know, is a large man. He's tall and he's a big man, and he has a big presence.
Yeah.
He's not a he's not a shrinking flower. Is that the term? Whatever that is. And so all of a sudden, now we're there in this little 2-bedroom condo. Nice place, but small. And I'm just sensing this like I'm feeling squeezed in, and I'm like, oh, and I could feel in my mind that I wasn't loving it at first, but I knew immediately I had a choice because I had to remember that I chose him. I chose to be there. I chose to have him come. And if I had not been conscious, what I might have done is I might have gone down the road of bitching, moaning, and complaining and rejecting his presence. But in the middle of me having this experience, I thought, wait a minute, I did this. I created this. So I'm now going to remember to accept what I created. Right? You get that?
Yeah.
But often we don't. We suddenly, when something feels uncomfortable, we don't take responsibility for creating it. And we think it's someone else or it's another situation. So the moment that happened, I don't even think I told him about the experience for maybe weeks or months later because it wasn't his. It wasn't his responsibility. It was mine. So in owning it, I got to choose, and I got to have a really good experience then. So
awesome.
You, me, men, women, especially conscious people, my wish, want, hope, and dream for each of us is that we learn to own, take responsibility, take dominion over the space that we create and that we project.
Yeah.
This work will help you to be more empowered and to remember that you're in choice.
Yeah.
Kind of complicated, but it's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
because I've really come to like me. I've come to like the skin I'm in.
Yeah.
And it's not just my age, although everybody knows as we age, you stop caring what people think. It just comes with it. But I, I am by far less needy of
Mm.
someone's opinions of me, acceptance of me, and I believe that that's a reward for doing this work.
Mm. Yeah.
True reward.
I agree. When your centeredness is within and you're not looking outside to, especially like just outside in general, but especially not online or social media or something like that. I think it's such a powerful place. And I just have such compassion for the young people these days, because that's all they've known is that social media and those judgments and all the horrible ways in which that interaction makes them less than, makes them not live up to, their own expectations or societal expectations. And I think for me anyhow, as I've gotten a few gray hairs along the way.
They're beautiful.
And I'm proud of that. I love being where I'm at now and really not caring as much about what society has to say. And it's more about my relationship to life, more about my relationship to others, more about my relationship to the cosmos, that I'm honestly interested in. The other things aren't quite as interesting to me anymore.
Yeah.
It's just being a naturally introverted person. I think I have that already, that I want to look within. I want to see that inner understanding, that inner purpose. I mean, even back to the foundational kind of questions that we ask ourselves as human beings. Who am I? What am I here for? Those ancient old, questions of what am I doing here? And then to really seek that within, to have that inner centeredness, to have that inner voice, to have all the inner resources that I have built over 30 plus years of doing this kind of work, is just automatic for me now. It's overridden all the old program, not all, but a lot of them. I'm not done yet.
There is no done. There is no done.
Are we ever? But to really, okay, squirrel. I just spaced it. But to really find that center place, let me put it this way, to find that center place within myself, is the biggest gift, I think, in life, to know that centeredness. Because when I was young, I was the same way that kids are now. It's like, who am I? Will you tell me who I am? Will you tell me who am I? I'm trying to figure it out. And I think we come to a place where that centeredness is the gift and is the practice, really. And the more we do it, the cleaner it becomes, the easier it becomes, the more empowering it becomes.
And one of the things in my classes is that what we receive from our families of origin and our ancestors is our lineage. What we hand down is our legacy. And we're the stopgap. We're the point where we break the chain of pain.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because now I have grandchildren. So I have my sons and my grandchildren. So who I am being, whether I'm trying to and I don't really have these kind of conversations with them much. It's not quite like this. So for me, it's about modeling. It's about even forgiving myself for all the mistakes I made as a mother. Because especially my first son got a way too young, wounded mom.
Mm.
Now, I'm grateful that I never harmed him physically,
Yeah.
but I was a screamer. All of my pain came out in volume.
Not that way.
And that poor boy, it breaks my heart when I think about it. And in order to not have that be my legacy to him, I actually had to forgive myself and then let him either forgive me or not.
Yeah.
But I had to forgive myself because I know that my guilt and shame cannot coexist in a place where if I want to love him as much as I can love him, I can't be in the guilt and shame because those things cannot contain the same space at the same time.
Yeah.
But I still want my legacy now to be one where I've retrieved as much of my own self-esteem. So when I engage him, it's a place of kindness and compassion.
Mm.
But he got the worst of me. My middle boy got the better part of me because I'd done some maturing. And then my third son got me as a minister, and the poor kid had to be a PK, which is a preacher's kid, So he had to grow up, with everybody oohing and eyeing around him. It was so annoying. I used to have, everybody wanted to hug him. They called him the little guru, the little Buddha. I'm like, oh my God, leave him alone.
A lot of projection, yeah.
And it sounded great, but that's a lot to put on a kid.
That's a lot.
So even now, when he shows up at an affair, like at my retirement dinner, everybody's like, "Oh, Seth, leave him alone."
Yeah.
We're
Absolutely.
always projecting. If we're not conscious.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's about my legacy, and my legacy. Part of that are my students and my clients. I just want to know that when you're in my space, you feel safe.
Mm.
When you're in my space, you feel loved. When you're in my space, you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's my goal in life.
Mm.
And then I question if a relationship that I've had or have is not that. I look at, well, who am I being in this? Where's my responsibility if this isn't looking exactly as I would like it to look?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So
I think that's huge, Michelle, though. Creating the space is a huge part, I feel, of what I do, definitely what I do as a minister. And I think what most of us in the New Thought tradition do as ministers is to really create that safe environment, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to really and there's a lot of consciousness that goes into that, in my experience, and a lot of awareness that goes into that. But once you provide, and really almost that's the foundational tool that I use as a minister, minister secret, is I just create the space and people bring into it. They recognize, they feel that safety, they want to show up, and then they can bring their truth to it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's not about evoking something of someone else's that, I wasn't ready to share that, or that's my big secret, or that's my big pain, or something like that. I don't want to coax that out of someone. I want them to know that it is a safe environment and they can simply show up. And with guys especially, they test, is like, oh, is this safe? Is this safe? Is this safe? They like to push the boundaries a little bit.
I have a funny story.
Go ahead. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. To connect with our community of like-minded men and access our full library, including summit talks, meditations, podcasts, weekly online men's groups, and so much more. Become a member today at newthoughtmens.community/membership. And now back to the podcast.
When I first started my community, and I was very blessed, we started a community and it was pretty successful, right off, which, I was very blessed. And I was always a pretty good teacher. I've become, a good teacher, but I was always a pretty good teacher, except I was a little clunky with my awarenesses about people, because what happened was I was able to see things. I was able to sense things. And I didn't know that you didn't know what I saw. So in the beginning, a few times as a teacher, I made the mistake in speaking into the room what someone couldn't see about themselves. And I scared the shit out of people, excuse my French,
No, yeah.
to the degree that some people left. Like there were a few people and I was like, oh, they didn't know that. And so I had to become more graceful. I had to learn to shut up. I had to learn that because I sensed something didn't mean you were ready to see it. Yeah. So it was kind of a funny, not really funny, but it was like, as I look back, it was like one of those clunky moments of those, the lessons that I had to learn the hard way. And now I just shut up. I don't need to prove that I know. I think I needed to prove it a little bit back then, but also, and the thing you keep saying, because you keep mentioning about being safe, and what I've learned, and I've worked very deeply, retreats and all the work that I've done with people, that if we can create, I say we, because it takes the collective as the head, it takes more of me, but if we can create a safe place, you don't have to work on somebody. They will naturally free up what has to be let go. Yeah. It'll just happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of not only the sacred space that gets created, like, especially for men and men's circles, but just even going into a New Thought Center, there is that feeling of home. Like for me, it was many years ago at Mile High Church. And it was a feeling of being home and being safe and being like, I'm like, oh, wow. And I came from a Catholic background. So the last place I wanted to be was in a church. But Mile High really was not like that. And I know other New Thought Centers aren't like that, to be able to show up and feel safe and feel engaged and given the freedom, given the choice to choose, because that's ultimately it, right? We have the freedom, but it's the choice to choose. Like, hey, do I want to choose? We're always choosing unconsciously or consciously, but to have that conscious choice moment of, who would I be without this burden? Mm-hmm. Who would I be without this thing that weighs me down? For me, most of my life, growing up dyslexic, there was this thing of not being enough. I was never enough for my mom. My mom was a school teacher. She wanted me to do well. There was all this thing around, me doing well for her benefit so that she could feel all right. This was back in the day. So it's like, okay, if my kids are doing okay, I'm doing okay kind of mentality. And that
never ends, though, Eamon. That never ends.
Yeah, right.
My eldest son is, I think he's 47. I still, if he's okay, I'm okay. When he's not okay, it takes every part of me to not be codependent. So that never really goes away.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking for their approval.
Yeah.
It's an interesting turn of
events. Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, I think, I appreciate that. And there is that responsibility on my part to say, that's fine. I accept the gifts that my mom gave me, maybe begrudgingly, just a smidge, but to take final ownership for it and fully own it. And say, you know what? It was my choice to feel less than. It was, granted, I was put in situations where that wasn't my neurodiversity skill set, is to, absorb and repeat stuff on command. That's just not in my wheelhouse. All of these things, but it took me going back through ministerial school to actually get the gifts of dyslexia and the gifts of neurodiversity to be able to know, oh yes, my mind is a creative mind. My mind just works differently, and to fully accept myself and to love myself. Oh, that was so hard because I had definitely taken on that critic that my mom was to me. And I know her desire was from a place of wanting me to succeed. And so that's the place where I can forgive her. And then I had to forgive myself, which I know you've written a book on forgiveness as well. So it's a huge piece of doing that inner work, is not only forgiving the other person and, doing what you need to with this, whether you want them to be a part of your life or you don't, the thing, depending on whatever it was, but ultimately coming back to ourselves and going, you know what, I forgive myself for putting myself in those positions. I forgive myself. I even forgive myself for setting myself up in a way as a spirit to come in and be a part of this family, and to know that that was what the agreement was with my mom.
Well, and the way I like to just sum it up or summarize all of what you're saying is, and this is absolutely, in all my forgiveness work, is that you forgive yourself for suffering. And I believe I said that during the talk. Forgive yourself for believing them.
For believing it, yeah.
I remember one time my father called me stupid. And I obviously believed him. Because I worked under that for a long time.
Yeah. Oh.
And it took me quite a while to get to a place and realize I'm not stupid. I might not be educated. I might not have the academia behind me that many do, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm doing. And writing the books didn't prove it. What it was accepting that and this is where my, I really go off on being New Thought. The presence of God in me is my intelligence. I mean, my early years of intense, extended period of silence, meditation, afforded me the ability to understand things that I didn't study, that I didn't know. And so while I had that criticism from my father, I got to rise up from another place and say, oh, spirit as me, intelligence as me, knows that through me. And so I'm grateful because I've done things in my life that if you really tie it together, I shouldn't have been able to do. So I'm thrilled. I'm actually thrilled. I'm thrilled that I'm doing this work. I'm thrilled that I'm trusted. I'm thrilled that, I just handed in my third manuscript for a book that's being, that I was commissioned to write. Like, where did that woman come from?
Right.
Where did the pot smoking, tequila drinking, fun loving person become the author? When did that happen? And it happened through the pain. It happened through the mistakes. It happened through doing things I wasn't supposed to do and then forgiving myself, because, and I also know that you're too young to know this, but anybody similar to my age, in the 80s, everything was about it's mom's fault. Oh my God, mothers got thrown under the bus in the 80s like nothing else. And so I don't blame my mother and I don't blame my father. I see their relationship in my healing and in the story of me. But if I'm staying in blame, I can't own it. If I'm staying in blame, I'm victimizing myself. Right? There's a difference between being a victim and victimizing. So I will never claim to be a victim. Was I victimized at some point in my life? Yeah, I was. And I still stand here telling you that I've embraced the holiness of my being and I'm here to love. I'm here to love.
Yeah. 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 Finding that sense of freedom, as you called it, is the thing, is one of the things. Like we are this infinite being. Sure, we're this finite, physical, mental, emotional being, but we're also this infinite being. We're connected with this one mind. We have far greater resources. We have far greater knowledge. We have far greater possibility in us than we can possibly even imagine. And we lessen that, and society pushes that down, and others can push that down. And there comes a point where we just choose. We believe in ourselves. We're like, I know for myself, I wrote a book. It's called The Blessing Circle, and I never saw myself writing a book. Like as a dyslexic person, I was like, no, that's the last thing I'm ever going to do. And
right, I get it. Bless you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Really. And what you're describing, I think of as the local you and the non-local you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The local you is the one with the relationships to family and the struggle, but the non-local you is the part that sources all that is.
Yeah.
The intelligence and the love and all of that. The non-local of you is the non-local of me. Right? That's where we're spiritually, we get to connect and heal. And we are far off of shadow work, but not so much, huh?
That's the oneness, though. And I think in shadow work, there is a huge piece of knowing that oneness, knowing that place of wholeness within us, knowing that place of even though I have anger, even though I have pain, even though I have whatever, I'm still me. I'm still human. I'm still okay. Like even if we have all of that pain or that projection or that judgments or all of the things that shadow work helps us see, I think that's the key of it is it helps me to also know that there is this part of me that's just a human mess. But there's also this part, paradoxically, there's this part of me that is whole and complete and one with everything and one with everyone.
Yeah, and I think that that distinction causes some struggle in New Thought communities because it's where individuals struggle with the whole concept, I am whole, perfect, and complete. But oh man, I'm a mess right now. And they coexist in that they're both real.
Yeah.
My husband right now, he was diagnosed with cancer. And so every day he, besides some really profound conversations that we have about death and dying and all these things, every day we make a choice to what we focus on every day.
Yeah.
So, and that's very real for all of us, and at every moment of every day we have a choice of where to focus our attention. And when I came on with you tonight, we were talking and I was so serious and I'm like, Michelle, you got to lighten up a little bit. And I finally said to you, I'm really sorry. I had a good day, but the last 30 minutes I had an incident with a loved one, and I carried it into the room, which is not my norm. Normally I can leave it out of the room, but I carried it in. So I appreciated our early conversation so I could kind of shake free of it.
Yeah.
And does that define me? No, it's a moment. It's a moment in time. And the more we move toward our wholeness, the more we move toward integration, the more we can sit in a place of choice. So Mel Robbins, I recently did a podcast about her book and a class about her book, Let Them. Not the whole book. I did a 90-minute presentation because I really felt that it had some value. But one of the things that she and a couple of teachers, I've been listening to a lot of things lately, And one of the things she said was that when we're jealous, it's a whole, and this is not new, but sometimes you have to hear it from that other person,
Yeah.
and that how when you're jealous, you're thinking there's not enough for you,
Mm.
or you're not capable, or
Mm.
you're in your not enoughness.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I looked around at some of the relationships that I've had that weren't like, that haven't been showing up as lovely. And
Mm.
I thought, no, I'm not doing it. And now I don't think it could always be this quick. It's this quick because I'm a fanatic about my interpersonal work.
Yeah.
I never stop doing it. I never stop looking within. I never say it. Like, I'm sure it's almost a bit annoying to my husband because I'm always, but whatever.
But I know Neil, and he's on that same path, so I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys work well together.
Well, sometimes I think he just wants me to talk to him about football, but which I do enjoy. I'm one of those ministers that likes football. Not everybody does, and I'm willing to admit it now.
Yep.
But when I had the awareness that if I hold anyone as against me, if I hold anyone as more than me, then I'm playing small, I'm shrinking myself, I'm installing my own glass ceiling, and I'm denying the beingness of who I am instead of just, it was, I don't remember the name. Oh, I'm going to butcher this quote, but
I do all the time, so don't worry about it.
but this quote, Mark somebody, and I'm not gonna do it, but it has to do with, instead of being against, draw a bigger circle of love and incorporate everybody in. So that's my current practice.
Yeah.
To consciously choose not to stand against, or to consciously choose not to even make room for someone to stand against me. If they do, they do. That's not my business. I don't have to hold on to it. And all of a sudden, all the pockets of resistance were popping, and all of a sudden there's more freedom and more freedom and more freedom and more energy and more creativeness that's availing itself to me because I stopped playing small by measuring myself, by comparing myself, because all of that is self-rejection, all of it.
Yeah.
God, it's a waste of time.
I got a quote for you then, Michelle, around this. It's from you.
Oh, it's for me.
we are being called up to move in our power. We must be whole. And I loved that you said, when you said that in your talk earlier, like, we are being called up. We as light beings, we as conscious individuals, call us what you will, spiritual people, we are called. That's why we have to answer that call. Like, being a spiritual person on a spiritual path isn't like, okay, tell me what to do. It's like, no, I have to figure out what's to do. There is full responsibility in that.
Yeah.
And with all of this other stuff, that to take the responsibility that we have to our fullness and to say, yes, let me do this work. Let me ask these 3 questions. Let me move into a place of power, which is a place of wholeness within myself.
All the isms, all the phobias, all the stuff that's going on right now would not exist if we were totally, completely loving, accepting ourselves as we are, and then able to then love each other as we are.
Yeah.
All that stuff only exists because of all the amount of rejection and condemnation and criticism.
100% agree. Yep, absolutely. Because then we don't have to make someone less than us,
Right.
because then the ego needs to feel I'm better than, right? It's this survival instinct in us. Oh, they're less than me. I'm more important. I'm more, and that's all ego stuff, which is like, I don't demonize the ego. I think shadow work is,
Oh, no, you should not.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Because it is our survival instinct. It is what has kept us alive.
Absolutely.
But at some point, we do have to choose. We do have to say, look, my sense of self isn't dependent on me being having power over someone.
Right.
It's having power with others.
Yeah.
It isn't about me being better than. It's about, how do I work with others?
Mm-hmm.
How do I include others in my life?
Yeah.
It's just more joyful
Yeah.
to have others, to be in connection and community with others while doing this. And so, though we have to let go to a certain extent of that survival instinct, of that ego part of ourselves that wants to feel better.
But what if we appreciate? What instead of thinking of it as letting it go, we developed a new relationship to appreciate it, because even people develop, right? They're the smart one in the room or the funny one in the room when you're young, and that was our ego helping us to survive a situation that we didn't know. So if instead of if we just learn to appreciate it, oh wow, you were helping me get through. Well, that part of me was helping me to survive. I was so painfully shy. I mean, Eamon, painfully shy. I didn't want to walk down the block. I lived around the corner from a school. I didn't want to be seen because there was such a gross amount of disapproval. And yet I know that my ego at that time was trying to help me survive, because I didn't want to be seen by the people in my house. I could get it.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to make it wrong. I just have to say, oh, wow, you were working out on my behalf.
Yeah.
The mantra that I teach all the time is, I love and accept myself as I am, but as I am not also. And when I look around at all the ministers and it was so easy to feel less than around these so many talented people.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
I had to really get over it. I look at certain people, I look at the intelligence of people like Petra Weldis. Like, the woman is a brainiac. She's brilliant. I will never be a Petra. I will never be a Kathy Ann Lewis. I will never be those people. So I better start liking this. Me.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is that when we don't like and accept ourselves as we are, we're not even liking or approving of that which created us. It's a denial of the system. Right?
Yeah.
But I love the system. So I guess I better love me. And I'm much nicer to be around. I'm much nicer to be around, and I'm less needy. I'm less needy. I remember when I was married the first time, and my boys were young, and my husband was taking my one son on a Boy Scout overnight or something. And then all of a sudden, I guess there wasn't enough registration, so they allowed the siblings to come. So now all of a sudden, my younger son was going to go with them, and they were going to do an overnight. And it was the first time in my life that I was going to be alone, that I was going to go to bed in a house alone. First time in my life. I started out terrified. Terrified. I woke up the next day, and they had gotten up and left early, and the house was empty, and because my identity was my husband and my children.
Yeah.
And while I admitted to you what I did with my first son, I was also a very good, loving mother simultaneously somehow. And boy, that weekend, I had to learn how to be okay with being with me, although I had to go through tricks. I had to have TV on or music on or be busy, because the stillness was a little scary for me initially. But over time now, man, I look for times to be alone.
Right. Like, I get to be home. Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet.
Oh, is to be home today?
Score.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Awesome, Michelle. Well, I do want to just touch on one thing before I know our time is rapidly evaporating here, and we could talk for a long time. But on the shadow work, there were 3 questions that you had talked about, and I want to make sure we leave people with some tools around the shadow work. So, as I understand it, your process anyhow, this process is, I see it, identify it, the challenge or the part in myself that I didn't like, then take responsibility for it.
wait, let me tweak that before you go too far.
Okay.
Because you won't necessarily think of it as inside first, especially to a first-time journeyer.
Yeah.
It's going to look like it's outside. It's going to look like it's another person. So what you're looking for are knee-jerk reactions. You're looking for very sharp, sharp reactions. Those are always, and not just sharp. Sometimes they'll be subtle in the body. It might be a tension. It might be a tight stomach. It might be, tight shoulders. So you want to learn to pay attention to the body. And I didn't even get to talk about the somatic implications of shadow and how it lives in the body, which is a huge conversation.
Yes.
But you learn to read the body and you learn to read your reactions. But most often we initially notice it in what I call the low-hanging fruit. So it's first outside. But that's the indicator. So I look out and I notice the reaction, or I know that I'm reacting. I go, huh. And the critical key is, instead of believing that it's outside, is to immediately go in and then name the emotion and do the best you can to follow it down inside of you.
Yeah.
To the original source.
I am that, I think is what you said. I am that.
Well, no. It can be that, but so let's say the best way to use these questions, by the way, I always like to give credit where credit is due. These questions were inspired by Debbie Ford's work, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And her book was the one I recommended until I wrote my own.
Nice.
I mean, now I like mine because it's, it's more spiritual, it's less psychological, and I beg you to be gentle throughout the book. I beg you to be gentle with yourself and not criticize yourself.
Yeah, that's a big piece.
Yeah, because people think the shadow, there's something wrong, there's something dark, there's something evil. No, that's not so. It's a repository. Your shadow is a repository of your undealt with stuff. Okay. So the best way to use these questions is, if I'm judging you and I've labeled you with something, or the example I used earlier was as a liar, but let's say, I don't know, let's just say I call you a cheat. All right. I'm just going to pull it out of the air. And I hear myself judge you. When I'm the very next thing to do is to ask myself this question. Wow. Am I that? Am I a cheat? Am I a cheater? Nope. And if I say no, then the next question is, have I ever been that? I could say, oh, yeah, I've been that. But if I had said no to that question, I'd be saying, do I object to that? And that was the question that I added to the series, because Debbie Ford didn't have that. Because I know that we don't always display, we don't always have within us the aspects of these things that we're objecting to. But if we're experiencing them, they have to exist within us. But you might have a mother, father, sister, uncle, grandparent that displayed those characteristics, and you hated it or you reeled against it.
Yeah.
And so the moment we begin to object against those things, we cement them to us. And until we've healed it or forgiven it or whatever the process is for that individual person, it gets projected out. And it will keep coming back until it's integrated. So if you say, yes, I am that, well, now you get to do your own forgiveness work and healing work. And you might not have to go to the second question. But the questions are definitely the crispest, easiest way to get to ownership and then to find the path to integration.
Integration, yeah.
Because that's what this is all about. This is all about integration.
Integrating the shadow parts. I think, and just those questions again, am I that?
Have
I ever been that? And then number 3, do I object to that if you get to that third one?
Yeah.
But
just look, and I have a YouTube station, and on the YouTube station I have a video about the 3 questions.
Awesome.
So if someone needs some backup information about
Let's
that,
see if we can link it.
I know, because we have to go, but I would like to make sure that we leave with the sense with sharing with people what the reward is.
Yeah, great.
Sometimes you're walking through hell. I'm an addict to be free, kind of, sort of. So I will walk through baptism by fire if I think freedom is the reward. And so I just want to tell people, that whoever's listening, the reward is freedom. The reward is liking who you are. The reward is liking other people. The reward is relationships that you don't have to guard yourself with. The reward is greater self-expression because you're accepting the all of you, all aspects of you. Being able to be silent with somebody because you don't have to fill the space, because there's inner peace that comes when you integrate and you become calm. Peace becomes part of what you do. And so the rewards are many. I just want everybody to know that that's why you would walk through this stuff, because it's not it's not simple or easy, and it's not even always fun. I mean, it's, there'll be some tears and some maybe punching of pillows and stuff like that. But the end result is an evolved, the way you present in the world, that is just like this calm presence. I don't agree with a lot of things that are going on around me, even with maybe my sons. Like I said, one of my sons voted differently. But I love every inch of his being. Yeah. And I can be present with him because I don't need him to be what he's not, because I've learned to accept myself. And that's the greatest reward. Yeah. You get to love in ways you never could have before.
To open your heart to others.
Yeah. And I would not be the compassionate, loving, accepting person I was if I didn't go through all that I went through. Yeah. Even though it wasn't wonderful at the time, I'm really good,
Yeah.
And I want to infect as many. Oh, that's what I want to say. But I want to infect as many people as I know with this. I don't think that anybody should become a practitioner or a minister that hasn't done shadow and forgiveness work. I mean, direct. And many weeks of. But we in New Thought Movement, we are perfectly positioned. We are perfectly positioned and poised to do this work with grace because of our ability to align with the One and allow that power and that influence to move through us. We are perfectly positioned. And I like to say, if not us, who? Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So Damon, okay. Thank you.
Final question, Michelle. Yeah, thank you. This is a great conversation. Final question. What does divine masculinity look like in the 21st century? I ask everybody this, or a parody of that. What does divine masculinity look like in the 21st century?
You're going to make me emotional.
I'm not making you do anything.
Oh,
Michelle.
yes, it's true. That's right.
I'm going to make you take ownership.
Yes, thank you. You're right. You're sparking in me. My middle son, I think of him. He is 6'2" tall, very attractive young man. Played football in high school, but could care less about sports. He has 3 children, and he and his wife divide up the chores. They have the nights that they put the little one down to bed. They share responsibilities. And I watch him father and parent in a way that I am inspired by his divine masculine. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness. And so for me, the current divine masculine is the one who has accepted the anima and the animus within with equal love and acceptance, and have found that place of balance of both, and can just feel 100% comfortable inside the skin of and all that it means to be a man. To me, that's what I think of as this time of the divine masculine.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. I wanted to share, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, because I know you're an advocate for health and well-being, as so many, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to have women's voices at this particular summit, is because about half the guys who find men's work find it through the women that care about these men. And I'm one of them. Like, I am personally a benefactor of that. A wonderful gal named Mary helped me when I was in very early 20s, and helped me find a path and helped me find a mentor that changed my life. I can't even imagine who I would be today without, without that experience. Probably a similar path, because I believe that, but it's been such a blessed path. And so many women have encouraged me to do the inner work, to do the deeper work. And men as well, especially having 30 years of men's work and still loving it and feel passionate about it. I absolutely love it. But honestly, it was the women who really encouraged me to start this path. And I'm forever just eternally grateful for that.
It's beautiful.
Because I don't know if I wouldn't have found it the same way. Let me just put it that way. I wouldn't have found it in the same way. So what do you think of men's work or women's?
Well, I think I said this to you for years. I was tempted and asked by other people to do women's only groups, and I refused because I always wanted if truth is truth, I wanted to speak truth that was for men and for women simultaneously. And yet I see the value in having the safe places. And I see that it's a logical thing that we women, I think of Middle Eastern women who give birth, right? We all have our great birth stories. And I love to remind my sons how many hours of labor I was in. It's kind of a personal little joke, but absolutely. And so we are the birth canal, right?
Yeah.
And yet these women in the Middle East, they're the birth canal, often to males who are going to grow up and disrespect their mothers because of the culture. And I think about that a lot, actually. What must that be like? But so for me, it's logical that those of us who are the channel for, the vessel through which we all came, that we would be a promoter of self-empowerment and self-love, and just wanting you to love yourself more. Because it's like the song that Ricky Byers sings, who she doesn't know who wrote it, but because if you love yourself more, then you can love me. And then that whole "I love myself so much" thing. But that's real. So I want you to love you, so you and I can be present together. Because when someone's in their misogynistic, hateful way, there's no room for me there.
Yeah.
Right? Then we're just living in two completely different universes. So it's logical that we as women would want for you as men to be you, the full, gorgeous expression of you.
Thank you, Michelle.
I wonder if I feel differently if I had daughters. I don't know. And having sons has grown me. It had to grow me. I had all this testosterone. I had a husband, 3 sons, a male dog. It was like, I had to learn how to function in through that. But I have happened to have attracted, except for one exception, very gentle, loving men in my life. So I'm grateful. I've majorly been surrounded by gentle, loving men, which is great.
Awesome.
And conscious. I love conscious men. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, that's us. That's our community. Our vision of building healthy masculinity in the world. That's what we're here to do. That's how we want to show up, and to support men in having the tools, having the encouragement, having the safe place where they can be authentically themselves to be able to do the healing work that they need to do. And none of it's none of it's externally imposed. It's all, what do I want to do? What's the healing that I'm ready for? All that kind of stuff. So, and I think women's work is very much in a similar vein of the invitation is there to do that inner healing work, and the support and the love and the encouragement. And so I know that eventually we will get to that place where these two organizations or two communities get to come together and do that healing work.
It has to. We're stronger together.
I love that diversity. I love the diversity of our community. I would never want to have someone be less because of any reason. We're all equal. And it's easy for us, right? I've said this before. It's easy for us as new thought people. Like, I see spirit, I see spirit, I see spirit, And so from our perspective, it's like, oh, it's just spirit expressing in different ways.
Which is blinding in a different way.
Which is, I'm sorry.
Which is blinding in its own unique way sometimes.
True.
Because behind that curtain, if we only see through that filter, we could be in danger of then not acknowledging some other types of diversity. And I'm just saying that as someone who's done a lot of anti-racism work and a lot of diversity work.
Yeah.
It's critical that we do acknowledge the differences, that we do acknowledge what appears to be the other when we don't look the same.
Absolutely.
Just like to stick that in there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in our New Thought communities where our heads are in the clouds, we're spiritual bypassing, and we're not doing the down and dirty work. And the down and dirty work is the good work that reveals us. Yeah.
That's the shadow work.
Yeah.
The deep work.
And not everybody believes in what we're talking about. It's not always accepted. Believe me, I've been criticized for doing this work. I don't care anymore, but I've experienced, being called, because I'm a metaphysician. I've been a metaphysician my whole life. I've never believed in anything outside of me. I had to learn how to integrate it,
Mm.
but it's not always accepted everywhere. I just want to speak the truth into the room.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I guess I come from a place of just acceptance of it because it was just a part of the men's work that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And we have continued to do some of that in, when I was a part of Mile High men's group for many years. And now more of that, now that we have a larger container, a larger experience, and a larger necessity to do the work,
Yeah.
where we know as much as we want to see the light and be the light, we know that there are challenges and there are struggles and there are things that that we want to see come to fruition: equality and wholeness and beauty and all of the things that we really see as a human species, a world that really does work for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to a world that works for few people or some people. So that's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being able to do this work is powerful. It allows us to shine our light, like that Marianne Williamson poem. It allows us to remove the shadow, the smallness, and allows us to go back to what we were talking about earlier. We're being called up. We are being called up as a community.
While I have a Substack, and having this public platform in the midst of this political climate is an interesting temptation. And a couple times I gave in to my temptation. And one of the blogs I wrote said, I'm angry. And then a couple of others, but only a few. And boy, did people love those blogs. People love it when they find someone who will agree with the anger, agree with the wrong, agree with the chaos. And then I decided I had to switch my focus, not deny what's going on, because God knows I don't, but to want to empower, which is exactly what you're saying, to empower the readers to be stronger so that they, in and of themselves, will have greater recourse and have more influence from a completely grounded, plugged in place.
Yeah.
Because if we don't embrace ourselves, we're not going to embrace our power. Right? And what you're saying is it's for us to do. It is for us to do.
Yes. Yeah, I see so many young men who are their anger and their hate is just being turned right now.
Yeah,
they're being used. Now, I can own that. I myself was an angry, upset. I think it comes with testosterone to a certain extent. This kind of, this male thing. Especially in our teenage years. But for me, I was so grateful to find this philosophy right after that, where I found out, oh, okay, I don't have to be this singular societal male that's like, hey, you can be angry or you can love in a heterosexual relationship, and those are your two emotions. Good luck.
Right.
But to be a holistic, right? To be a holistic man, to be a holistic human being, like all of us, to have all the emotions and to have all the experiences, to have all the thoughts and feelings and, all of that, to really honor and bless that. I'm so grateful to New Thought for that, because not that I probably wouldn't have wound up in a similar situation, but there is just this influx of, white supremacy and the us and them mentality of blame this group, blame that group. That group is the one who took your pot. It always reminds me of that cartoon, that old cartoon where the dude in the hot top hat is like, he's got the whole cake and there's one slice of cake in the middle, and goes to the guy, hey man, they're trying to take your piece. and he's got the rest of the cake. It's just like, no, people wake up. We need the many voices. The many voices make us stronger, make us better.
And I'm grateful for a lot of the men that you're about to have on this series who are strong, confident, competent, balanced, conscious men. I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful that I get to interact with many of them, and I'm a fan. I'm a great fan of many of them, and just I love what you're doing here.
Thanks.
I'm a big fan. I think this is really, it's easy for women to find women. It's easy to find a women's group, but to find a really healthy, good men's group that is supporting a man from the inside out and not just his machismo, thank God for you and what you're doing. That it's a good thing. And it's funny, something you said about being angry as a teenager. All of a sudden I thought to myself, wow, what an odd time to let boys play football when they're in those angry times. Right? And I'm grateful that there's some new models coming out of athletes that are really doing good work in the world, generous work, giving of homes and money to really good causes. So there are also some people out there, some men out there that display as these strong, very macho men that are doing really good work. I just want to acknowledge them too. I'm always grateful when I hear a story that one of them has bought, given away millions of dollars and opened homes for whoever. It's like, because when you have the resources, bless you for using it that way.
Yeah. Especially in those men in those competition models of sport. Yes. And then to go outside of that competition model and say, hey, how can I participate in this we thing? Of how do I help all of us? How do I help those who really need? How can I be generous? How can I be a philanthropist and support health and well-being in the world as well? So it's awesome. It's awesome. And it's the shift. I mean, it's happening. We're seeing it at a hard time, I think, Michelle.
I don't know about you, but I'm certain that I'm seeing the shift because when desperation starts to show its face,
it's a sure sign.
Sure sign. And I think of, I love Stephen Colbert. When I think of what's going on with him, and it's like, oh man, some of us are getting desperate. So that means that there's pressure and there's influence from the conscious world, at least. And it could be a fantasy, but I'm sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it too, Michelle. Even if it is, we gotta fake it till we make it on that one.
Yes.
And the truth is, it's in our nature, it's in our DNA, it's in all of our stuff. It's in our psyche to evolve and to grow and to spiral upwards. It's for me, it's not even a question of will we. It's like, when will we? And sure, there are people who have immense power and control and money that can fight it for as long as they can. But ultimately, it's about all of us doing that deep inner healing work and being able to step into the world in a different way. And that's the consciousness shift. That's something you can't buy. That's something you can't change. That's not something society can influence because it's all happening within ourselves. And we feel that urge. I feel that urge to be the better person, to try and model what healthy masculinity as best as I can as this human, being.
My 9-year-old grandson, he's a little antsy sometimes, precious. But I don't know, sometimes I just get weepy. He will be the first one, though, if we're going somewhere or driving in the car, he'll be the first one to say to me, Nana, look, isn't that beautiful? And I thought, okay.
Oh, sweet.
I think that's a healthy sign.
Yeah.
I think that's a really healthy sign for even at 9, almost 10 years old, and he's been that way for a while. who can say, wow, Nana, that's beautiful.
Mm.
Because I
Sweet.
think that's learned behavior because it's been modeled to him. So
Yes.
that leaves me even more hopeful, for some of the up and coming.
Yes. Future generations.
Yes.
Well, let's leave them with that. Let's leave them with hope and possibility. Michelle, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed it. I mean, we could probably talk about shadow work and this stuff for a long time. But I just want to thank you. If you want more of Michelle, it's the plannedhappinessinstitute.com or michellewadleigh.com as well. You can find out more about her and her amazing books, 6 books.
The book
there you go. The shadow work one is right back there. And I know the forgiveness one is also around.
That's coming out in November, actually.
Oh, that's the one that's coming out. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Michelle, so much for being
welcome.
with us today.
Thank you for inviting me to be one of the 2 token women. It was quite an honor to be asked. It really was. Thank you. It's funny because I know you sent me the invitation and then you must have thought, I bet she thinks this is a mistake because you sent it again, acknowledging that you were asking a couple of women. I thought, oh, cool.
Yes, I did do that.
Yeah. Really, I honor you for your work and for the men witnessing this. And let us all just rise together because we're stronger together. We're stronger together for sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for your work. Beauty in the world. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye. Be well. Thanks.